So I know one of the most frustrating positions for a man to be in is to be dating a woman that you have genuine interest in. You're doing what you need to do. Everything seems to be going well. And then all of a sudden, she's acting funny. She's become more distant. She's pulling away. And you have no clue what the hell is going on. And for a lot of guys, this can trigger some negative reactions. This can cause men to seek out help and then implement advice that actually only makes things worse, right? And just create more chaos than necessary because you don't have a deeper understanding of what may possibly be contributing to the issue. Now, at the end of the day, there's no way to guarantee what exactly is the problem unless she is willing to be open and express what that is. But I do think that by you considering what I'm about to mention in this video as to what may be causing it, it'll help you better navigate the situation. And just know that whatever the possible reason is, adding more negativity to a negative situation is not going to create a positive result. All right. So resist the urge to implement any games or tactics because that will only cause you more problems. All right. But let's get into why a woman pulls away when things are going good. And the first one, believe it or not, is because the level of vulnerability is scaring the hell out of her. So what am I talking about here? There are going to be moments, and I'm not going to say this is again, it's not extremely common in the sense of if you as a man individually went on 3 different dates to 3 different women, or you've been dating 3 different women at a different time, and they all pulled away, chances are this issue does not apply to all 3 of them. Okay? Possible? Chances are not. But it at some point will probably be something you experience whether you realize it or not. And the reason why vulnerability would scare a woman is because you have to understand that a lot of women have been through a lot of hurt, a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of disappointment, okay? And have become very guarded because of it, unfortunately. And so some still may profess with their mouth that they want love, they want relationship. But when there's a genuine connection, when something real is experienced, it exposes her in a way that now makes her very scared. All right. She was trying to find a situation that she could manage herself emotionally, and being with a guy that she's deeply into when she has not healed makes her feel like she's losing control. Like I literally had a woman say to me one time in a coaching session where she met this guy. She said everything was amazing. He was perfect. And she said it was freaking her out. And she felt like she was losing herself. Now, again, some of you guys might hear that and say, this is so ridiculous. Like, how could you hope and wish for love, and then when it comes, you want to run from it? But don't look at it from such a negative perspective. Understand it from the human experience of, listen, being that open, that vulnerable, when you've already been hurt many times before, it's hard to embrace. I'm not saying the woman shouldn't do something about it. I'm not saying she shouldn't heal. I'm just saying we don't need to harbor any ill feelings towards anybody because they don't know how to handle the moment. All right. And so for them, what is easier is to run, or at least they're backing away because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do here. All right. And they don't know how to navigate the situation. Now, one of the things you can do as a man, because again, we don't know when this is applying to your situation, is just to simply talk about these things. Discuss, if asking, does she have any concerns? Is there anything that's scaring her? Your willingness to be more open and forthcoming and dive deeper, it can bring her a level of comfort and at least being more transparent about what's going on. All right. It doesn't mean it's going to necessarily solve it automatically, because what's going to really solve it is her willingness to actually get healing. And that's something that you as a man cannot control. I literally have a video that says you cannot heal her. and you do not fall into the trap of thinking, well, okay, now I'm going to be her savior and I'm going to lead her to her healing. If she is unwilling to go on that journey, you cannot drag her to it. If anything, trying to drag her to it will only create more frustration, more conflict, more resentment. All you can do is lay it out for her. Like, listen, I care about you. I'm serious about you. If you're in any way, worried, scared, struggling with embracing this, I would love for us, and when we say for us to do counseling, it doesn't necessarily have to mean doing it together. You're just saying, hey, like, for her to go do hers and you'll do yours to make sure there isn't anything on your end that you need to clean up, right? Because no one likes to be singled out. So when you make it a thing that we're doing together, not necessarily doing the session together, but going through the process together, then it can make her feel more comfortable. But if she's unwilling, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it sucks, you'll have to let her go. Now, is it possible that she'll at some point be willing to do what needs to be done to make this work? Maybe, but you can't sit there waiting around for it to happen. You have to let her know where you stand, let her know what you would like, how you would like to proceed, and she has to be willing to take that step with you. All right, so now another reason why women pull away when things are going good is because she isn't over her ex. And more specifically, her ex has popped back up. All right. So the unfortunate reality is that many people leave their relationships physically, but they don't leave emotionally. All right. So she broke up with this dude. She says, I'm done. Right. But she hasn't resolved whatever is there emotionally. So there's still an unhealthy attachment that exists. She tries to get back into the dating world. She meets you. She likes you. So the ex, not being over the ex, being willing to go back to the ex, that doesn't reflect automatically on how she feels about you. But when there's unresolved attachments there, it can get in the way of her embracing what she has with you, especially if it's a two-part thing where it's her feeling a little vulnerable and scared with you, and now it's easier being with this ex. So sometimes the woman chooses the lesser of the two men as far as the guy who actually is best for her, treats her well, all these things, not because women like to be treated poorly, not because women like a toxic man, so to speak, but because for many, it can be easier emotionally to deal with it. Because with him, it's almost like I know the trash I'm getting. But with you, I have to believe in the good you're presenting, and I have a conflicting perception of men that I haven't gotten over because of what I've been through in the past. Okay? So that creates such a lack of an inner battle to where, all right, I'll just go be with this other guy where I know it's going to be nonsense, but I don't have to like worry if anything's going to happen that I'm not expecting, versus the guy who's so awesome and I think one day he's going to mess up and completely devastate me. Also understand that the one you love most can hurt you the worst. So a woman who has not healed, for her, being with the guy she's deeply into, right? And she hasn't healed, the prospect of you're going to eventually hurt her in some way, devastating her, is a harder pill for her to swallow than it is to be with this guy who isn't that great, but his mess ups don't cut the same. Now, again, I know for some of y'all are like, this is some nonsense, but I'm just being real with y'all about how it is for a lot of women. Not all, but for a lot of them. All right. And it's, again, something for you to be mindful of. But the point is, dating you, ex comes back and she starts to entertain it. And she does not know how to express that, or it's not even that she doesn't know how to express that. She may be in the mindset of, I don't want to tell you my ex has come back, because she's not sure what's going to happen with the ex. Even though she's entertaining it, she's trying to explore what's going on there. But she's hoping to not lose the potential maybe of exploring things or moving forward with you, so she doesn't speak on it. So instead of telling you what's going on, she just becomes distant, but it's because this other guy's in the way. All right. And again, it's one of those situations where you can't drive yourself crazy trying to find out if there's another man in the picture. You can't be trying to stalk Instagram and social media pages looking for clues. Don't do that to yourself. There's no point. You know what I'm saying? There's no point. Whatever she's doing, she's doing. You got to focus on you, how you need to move forward. And again, letting her know, listen, if you recognize she's not showing up the way that she needs to in this process of dating or relationship, express that, express what you want to see out of her. And if she is unwilling to make those corrections, you have to be prepared to let her go. All right, so let's keep this thing going. So another reason why women pull away when things seem to be going good is because something triggered her. All right. So you're probably already noticing the underlying theme to a lot of this. And don't get me wrong, there are some reasons that have nothing to do with her healing or not healing. I'm just getting some of these out the way. But a lot of women, a lot of people, you may not have fully healed from past relationships. And when you don't heal, sometimes you're not fully aware of what triggers exist within you. So it's very possible she's dating you, things seem to be going well, but you may have said or done something that reminded her of an ex, reminded her of something traumatic or bad that she doesn't like, that she perceived as a red flag, even if it truly wasn't, but her fear of it being that is getting the best of her, okay? And in her being triggered, she falls back. And again, a lot of women, unfortunately, they're so guarded and they're so like, I refuse to get played by a man, then rather than having a discussion about it and seeing if maybe I just read this wrong, she just runs for the hills. Because in some of their minds, the idea is, okay, if I have a discussion, he'll just give me some excuse and I'm gonna fall back into this, and I've done that before and it got me nowhere, I'm done. So it's an unfortunate reality that many rather run than discuss. However, if there is an opportunity on your end to still communicate and address any situations or concerns, when you see that woman's pulled away, ask, listen, is there anything that was done or said that may have triggered you in any kind of way, And I think there's a good chance that she'll be willing, if it has something to do with that, in that moment of you asking, she'll be willing to reveal it. Now, what you have to understand as a man, because here's one of the mistakes a lot of men make. You ask her what was said, what was done. She tells you. And because you don't agree with how she received it or perceived it, you go into defense mode. And sometimes in a way that is dismissing how she feels, right? Or even attacking how she feels. And I understand this because you feel like, well, damn, I'm over here trying to be a good man, and you want to take this thing I said the wrong way or this thing I did in the wrong way and hold it against me. And now you're upset because you may not realize now you're triggered. You're triggered because your past girl may have done that to you. All right. And now you feel like, here we go again. But you as a man have to recognize you, and this is why I said previously when it comes to healing, you got to make sure you do your healing too. Because you don't want that to be the case where you're reacting emotionally and losing sight of things, and now you're creating more of a problem than necessary and missing out on finding resolution that would allow you to move forward rather than now things falling more apart, okay? So in that moment where you ask and she expressed herself, whether you agree with it or not, you have to understand that's how she perceives it and address it from that angle. So more so, okay, you know what? I understand that that's how you took it, but I want you to know that's not what my intent was. I in no way meant it like that. My apologies. And I have no problem as we go forward correcting that. That's it. Keep it simple. Acknowledge it. You always want to make sure you acknowledge how she feels and then you address. All right. But don't just go into defense mode because you're only going to set up a battle, and that will not end good for you in many cases. All right. So here's another one. And this one is going to be a tough pill to swallow for some of y'all, but it's a real thing. So we got to talk about it. Another reason why a woman pulls away when things seem to be going good is because she has lost attraction to you. Now, this is one of those unfortunate things that it's hard to pinpoint, because unless you know without a doubt something that was done, like you farted in her face or something, I don't know, like some crazy crass thing you did, it's hard to identify, well, this is where things went left, right? And when it comes to attraction, sometimes there's nothing that you can pinpoint, because here's an unfortunate reality. Some women will date you without attraction being there to begin with. And they're hoping it can materialize, okay? So they view you as a good guy. They think you have some good qualities. And they're like, all right, I'm going to give this a chance. And then after a few months, even though things seem to be going well, it's like, no, I can't do this. And so, I've had some situations where the woman told the man, like, I'm just not attracted. But to the guy, that's really confusing, because it's like, yo, how are you not attracted if you've been dating me for the past 3 months? Like, that doesn't make sense. We've kissed, we've done whatever. But believe it or not, that can happen. That does happen. It sucks. Of course, I don't agree with a woman doing that, but I'm just putting you on to the fact that it does happen. Other times, it is something that may have changed. It could be. This is where you have to make sure as a man, you don't misrepresent yourself in the early stages of dating. Because what some men have done is, let's just say, for example, and I'm not saying any of you have done this in particular, but it happens. Let's say you have a guy, and in that first month, he was acting like he was a big baller. He was flexing all over the place, taking her to expensive places, driving nice cars, whatever the case may be. But the reality is he doesn't live that lifestyle. He can't sustain that lifestyle. That was just to impress her. And providing that lifestyle, providing those luxuries did contribute to the attraction. It doesn't mean that she didn't find him physically attractive otherwise, but that contributed to her willingness to wanting to date him and be with him. Right or wrong, that's what happens. And then finds out it's complete opposite, right? So now that intrigue, that desire, that additional attraction that was added is lost, but it's also lost because she was deceived. And let's flip it for a second. It's almost like, imagine if you start dating a woman and initially, let's say y'all get physical, y'all have sex, right? And she's just like being a super freak in the bedroom and you're loving it. You're like, oh my gosh, I found the right one, right? And after a month, she turns into like the prudest, most conservative woman. At that point, you're not just mad because you're not getting what she initially gave you. The pure deceit and turning of the tables has caused you to lose attraction, caused you to lose a desire. It's like, what the hell? That's just so offensive for you to make me think this is what I'm going to be getting from you, and then to give me something completely different. So you got to understand that if you did misrepresent yourself, then you are increasing the chances of loss of attraction or just loss of desire overall to kick in. And you can't turn around and be like, oh, well, she didn't love me for me, or she's ungrateful. No, you didn't show her who you really were. You weren't being real, so how you expect her to be real? You know what I'm saying? Like you got to make sure you're not playing yourself, and you have to show up as the man that you are, the man that you can sustain being, and presenting the life that you want to live. Because as a man, you got to understand, I believe it's about determining the life you want to live and then seeing who's the woman that aligns with that. Not trying to fit into any woman's box, right? Because that's just going against who you truly are, and you can't sustain that. So loss of attraction, definitely another reason why some women pull away when things seem to be going good. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And another reason why a woman pulls away when things are going good is unfortunately because of negative outside influences, okay? So one of the things as a man you have to be mindful of in the women that you date, and especially the woman you choose to be in a serious, committed relationship with, or you're going to choose to marry, is the circle she exposes herself to, okay? And what kind of influence they have on her, and are they speaking from a positive or negative place? You have a lot of women out there who are surrounded by other negative women, bitter women, unhappy women, okay? And that woman, depending on where she is in life and how she's already developed as an individual, may not be able to fully understand or grasp the fact that these people are not speaking from a good, healthy place, okay? And so you'll have situations where, let's just say, going back to, you did something that triggered her, right? Unbeknownst to you, it was an accident. You didn't intend on doing it, but that's what happened. She goes and tells her friends. And now, rather than them saying to her, oh, go talk to him, maybe it was a mistake, address the issue and let's see if he's willing to correct it. Instead, it's like, oh, no, don't deal with him. He's no good, because that's what their experiences are. And they're projecting that onto you. And so now you're confused because you don't understand why this woman is not coming to talk to you, why all of a sudden she's distant, what's going on. But you don't realize that, yes, what's contributing to that is those outside influences. Now, of course, you can't control who she's talking to. You can't control who gives her information. And I'm not in any way saying try to block her from being friends or family with people if you recognize they are unhealthy. I am saying, though, one, this is why it's important to establish early on in your dating experiences, in your relationships. Tell your girl, if there's any problems, come talk to me first. You have to let her know that it is safe and okay to express any concerns with you. Because if you don't, you are now running the risk of other people interjecting before you have a chance to state your case. And here's the problem. Even if she eventually comes and talks to you, if she talks to too many other negative people first, she will come into that conversation projecting negativity, expecting something bad, and it will be more of an uphill battle for you to climb. So if you want to minimize the chances of that, okay, you want to establish early, hey, I'm a man who is willing to talk about any issues. You can feel comfortable talking to me. And you got to make sure that when she has those moments, you don't brush her off. You don't dismiss her. You actually listen. You hear her out. You don't dismiss her feelings. You discuss them. You know what I'm saying? It might sound like a lot of work to some of y'all, but hey, if you want a healthy relationship, this is what you got to do. You got to safeguard it. And doing this will help big time. All right, so we got a couple more to go, guys. So let's see. Another reason why women pull away when things seem to be going good is because she wants to see how much you care. So unfortunately, this can come from the negative influences. They can come from her own emotions and feelings. But some women, again, because they can be concerned and worried about, is this man serious? Is he playing me? How does he really feel about me? Especially if you have not been very expressive. If you've been expressive and you've been showing up a certain kind of way, then there's less likelihood of this. But if she's not gaining enough clarity from you, what your intentions are, right? And where she stands with you, right? Then it can lead to her then doing things like this, which is not healthy, it's not right, I don't condone it, but doing things because she's trying to elicit a reaction. And she wants to see, okay, I'm going to back away and I'm going to see if he calls me. I'm going to back away and see how he reacts to that. I'm going to back away and see if he cares that I'm not reaching out to him right now. And it's all because she wants to feel like she's more of a priority. She wants to feel like you actually like her, or you're genuinely into her, all these different things. So it's important that when you notice the woman pulling away, you start by asking yourself, okay, have I been clear with this woman? Have I been intentional with this woman? If not, we might want to jump to doing that first before attacking the issue of her pulling away, so to speak. Because just simply being more clear about your intentions and how you feel about her could clean the whole thing up. Now, if you do that and it still hasn't changed anything, then we can start to explore some of these other possibilities. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's a big one, especially in the dating process, that I see happen a lot of times. And unfortunately, you have these dynamics where, all right, so she pulls back because she's trying to make sure how you feel, but then you're getting told, you know what, don't sweat her, don't chase after her, don't call her. No, you pull back too. You go no contact and see if she reaches out to you. And you're both playing this game when ultimately you both actually like each other. You both want more of each other, but neither of you are being clear and transparent. And again, this is what goes back to me saying, the more you can establish early on how to communicate and be transparent and address any concerns, we can eliminate a lot of the games and nonsense that goes on. So it's important that you do that. All right, so now last but not least, reason why women pull away when things seem to be going good is because ultimately she feels like you're not serious about her. So this is kind of just piggybacking off what we just talked about. And again, you have to understand, I think a lot of times as men, we're only evaluating the situation based on how we feel and how we perceive things. But we're not considering what this woman may have been through. Meaning, all right, you know, if she's already dealt with guys who weren't being intentional, who ended up not being serious, who dragged her on for months, even years, to not end up actually committing to her, well, it's natural that she is going to be a little concerned, hesitant, worried, skeptical, whatever, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that to excuse it in a way that she shouldn't heal and resolve those fears so that she can come into every situation healthy and treating it as its own separate situation. But the reality is, as human beings, many people, there's some kind of residue that carries over from previous relationships, okay? And so for her, yes, she will want some reassurance. And if you're not giving her reassurance, if you're not expressing how you feel, if you're not letting her know what your intentions are, things of that nature, it leaves room for her to assume you are just playing. All right? And that can cause her to say, you know what? It's pointless. I'm not trying to get played. I'm not trying to get hurt. So I walk away. And just as I pointed in the previous, as I pointed out in the previous point, the mistake is when the man then reacts to that by playing his own game, rather than trying to address what the root concern is and what's actually bothering her. And then also understanding that if you are able to rectify the situation, right, and she comes back and you guys are good, establishing the framework of how we're going to handle things moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And gaining an understanding of also what she needs from you to feel that you are truly invested. So to give you an example, one time I met this was a long time ago, several years ago, met a woman and I asked her in the first week, I said, listen, how many times a week do we need to be talking, right, on the phone for you to feel like I'm serious and I'm invested? Because at that time, I was super busy. I'm not the greatest with reaching out by phone. I'm more of an in-person person, right? But I understand that for a lot of women, they want the conversation, they want the phone, whatever. So I said, how much? And she had told me like 4 times a week at least, and I'm good. And at that time, I was like, all right, I could do that. So now we established this is what you need. And if I can meet that, at least I've eliminated that concern. But imagine if in her head, she's thinking, I need to hear, because this is what happens to a lot of people. I need to hear from this man 5 times a week to feel like he's serious. And for you, you're thinking, man, as long as I give her at least 2 to 3 times, she should know I'm for real. And there's a disconnect there. And it never gets spoken about. You know what I'm saying? And so she's over here resentful or feeling like you're playing games. You're over here feeling like she doesn't appreciate your efforts and the whole thing falls apart. But if you guys would just had a discussion about what you need from each other, what she needs from you and what you need from her as well, to feel that you're both invested, again, we clear all this stuff up. So all this to say, listen, don't be so quick to jump to negative conclusions, but more importantly, don't react in a negative manner. Yes, sometimes it might be a woman that was just playing games. There could be other reasons that I didn't mention on today's list, right? But either way, reacting negatively, playing games, all that stuff, it doesn't serve you any good. Address things, talk about things, and if it's not correctable or she's not willing to do her part, always be willing to let her go. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 5 clear signs she is seeing someone else. But has that been the case in many situations? Yes. For a lot of women, not all, a lot of women have difficulty being intimate with 2 people at once, all right?